So, what's that? You're welcome to.
All right, well, we will call to order the November Water, Sewer and Engineering Committee meeting. Start with review and approve of the October 9th Water Sewer Committee meeting minutes. Let's entertain a,
I was thinking you make the quorum, but I wasn't at the last meeting, so I can't vote to leave them unadopted for right now.
okay, unadopted right now.
Yeah.
And we will look at that for the next,
Yeah.
for the next meeting. Okay, start with attorney items.
Don't we have? Has Douglas Court come to you guys yet? Yeah, Douglas Court came to you, right? Put a pool in and we need to put a fence in. And the fence that as proposed would be for our easement, but there's no way to get back to the drainage.
Last I knew, Ray said no.
So Ray and I met the other day. Ray's position is kind of like it's difficult because obviously there are easements. So we need to make sure that we can use them for the intended purpose of the easement, but at the same token, they put in this pool with the idea that they'd have all this backyard, and now if we force them to move over, it completely changes the backyard. So what options, if any, are available as far as can they put in gates? So we're still exploring that. So I know it's not on here. I don't know that it would be on for November 20th, but I guess.
Yeah, last I heard it was Ray said absolutely not.
So
I have to talk to him again.
I don't know if putting gates in is the solution.
Well, because the fence runs parallel to the.
Right.
So.
Well, that's what my point is, that even if they put one in the front, then there'd have to be one in the back and they'd have to go through the backyard to get to the drainage basin. And we looked at the neighboring properties. There's no other mechanism for which to get back there other than through that easement.
So just to maintain that pipe on the side there.
Right.
Ray said there is no minimum distance to the pipe that. So like we've done with sewers. Because his trucks are bigger.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
So still up in the air.
I'm still up in the air.
And come back to probably discussion. Okay, in the engineering department, ArcGIS Pro, this is, we use ArcGIS for the asset management and mapping, digital mapping of our system. Right now we use standalone licenses and we're looking to actually purchase the next upgrade that will be able to allow us to have our digital mapping online and edit it online rather than just here on our services. Looking at purchasing that software.
So is it new software or an upgrade on software?
It would be new licenses. It would be new licenses. Working with Josh, the IT department on that purchase. Right now, for 2 licenses, be $1,378.26. I believe we have that in our budgets to be able to purchase.
1,300.
$1,378.26. And that's the next step in going with the asset management software that we're planning on next year. That will help us in real time manage all of our assets, water, sewer, storm plants that we're looking at for next year. The stormwater study update. Cameron, I'll let you give you a minute on that.
With KB Engineering, we sent over our initial batch of data on the 17th, and we met with them on the 29th for a preliminary version of the model just to see how it behaves compared to how we know it behaves. Had to go field verify some more connections, look at some old SWIP calculations to help calibrate the model, which we sent over on the 31st. And that's kind of where we are at now. I don't have an updated timeline on the deliverables for that. The Gantt chart they gave with the proposal is like 2 months back. We pushed it out about 2 months. So
We are very pleased with the progress that they're.
yeah, they are. It's going a lot
Great.
smoother than I think we expected.
Um,
Do you care?
that'd be fine.
Okay. I'm just wondering if this stormwater study is, related to the consolidated drainage and storm sewer budget for, this year and next year.
So,
I believe that's where it came from.
Okay, so I have a question, knowing that it did. Basically, we had, almost $340,000 in that budget, pulled from previous years because there were 3 areas, if I'm correct, that needed a drainage study. And I've been on top of this because my property is one of those areas, okay? And this is going back 3 to 4 years of meetings with Jamie Puccione. And that's why the money was set aside, because several of my neighbors got together, attended a lot of meetings, so money was set aside, which we were really happy with. But now I see that a significant portion of that 300,000 was spent in 2025. And the last time I spoke to Laura Robertson, she had indicated that Regent Street was the #1 area that was going to be on the list. And I believe it had been contracted out with an engineering firm. So we asked where on the list our property would be. She really couldn't answer it. But now I see that for 2026, we only have 53,000. So I'm wondering if the other 2 areas have been eliminated from the drainage study. And also 143,000 was spent in 2025 for equipment, for capital outlay for highway. I'm wondering if that's a piece of equipment that Ray wanted. And then also it says we have contractual expense of 100,000 for 2025. So I was wondering about that. And then we have an additional $60,000 for miscellaneous engineering, which that amount looks like the contracted amount with KB, probably about what, 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 less. Because I think his was in the low 50 range, his contracted amount. So we seem to have spent an awful lot of money in 2025, and the drainage study is just really beginning. So I'm wondering, how this all occurred and whether moving forward, the other 2 areas are going to be studied.
That's, it's my understanding that this will be done in phases. And taking, the highest priority areas first, looking at those, and then continuing on through the areas that have been identified. I don't know whether that's,
Do we have the money for it?
So
I
is it covered? It might be encumbered, right? It's not spent.
I can't answer, I don't have.
To do that?
Can you get us the answer or get me the
We
answer to that?
can look into that.
Yeah,
For sure.
because I know that money was set aside for 3 areas, and it just looks like most of the budget was spent in 2025, and we're just beginning the first
I know these
study.
projects are not cheap, hiring the engineering firms and everything to be able to do these studies.
Well, I think it was budgeted, so,
We can look into that.
thank you.
I realize we didn't give time for any public comment. We could go ahead and take care of that right now. Would you like?
Go ahead.
any-
Go ahead.
I did want to make a public comment. I'm Joe Yeagle. This is going to take me a few minutes. And I'm going to give you this afterwards. I'd like to enter it as part of the record. I first want to acknowledge the service of Matt Yetto, his town staff member for over 20 years, his role as superintendent. Matt had a lot of institutional knowledge. I appreciated him. I'm sorry to see him go, and I wish him well in his new role. Second, I wanted to thank you, Dan, for contacting me about my water sample results. I know that you are stepping into a new position now, and you're working to continue the operations of the department. So I appreciate that. The main thing that I wanted to discuss today is the water testing process, the results, and information disclosure. The residential copper level test results, about 70 of them have been coming back from the lab. Most of these recent results indicate copper levels that are under the 1.3 part per million level, although some levels have been over the 1.3 limit. I note that it's difficult to clearly see some of the high copper test results in the town map because the data markers and the reported numbers for some of the bad test results are obscured. I've emailed the town twice on this. In fact, I mentioned this to Aaron in an email. I'd like to see the GIS team make a couple of simple fixes with the map. They can change the priority of the high level markers to make them stand out more, and then the numbers associated with the markers you really can't see even when you blow up the map image. And the contrast on the map itself is different if you look at it on a desktop computer, an iPad, or a phone. So I recommended that some of the coloration be darker on the markers and diminish the background on the map. So I'd like to see that done. While the majority of the October 25 residential test results indicate that the copper level results are below the 1.3 action limit, I want to call attention to some of the circumstances about the water quality concerns and some factors that affected the process and the results. First, although certain staff were aware of the residential water quality concerns earlier than May 2025, the resident community at large wasn't aware of these concerns until more recently. The individual complaints, as you know, range from high copper levels with some testing that was done, discolored water, damage to their home piping and equipment, and then concerns about health risks. Second, the town map is showing water test results that are all around town. The expansive testing under the circumstances is excellent. I have no issue with that at all, but I think we need to be mindful that these test results are actually showing samples that include the Schenectady water supply as well as the Niskayuna water supply. And the Niskayuna water supply is the water supply that is primarily of concern. So that fact isn't stated anywhere on the town website or the timeline document. And I think that's important to note because the map is filling up with a bunch of green dots, but they're not all necessarily Niskayuna water sample tests. With results to the factors affecting the test process, I want to refer to the timeline of testing and bring up a couple of points. According to the timeline, that's the PDF document that's on the website. In June, July of 2025, in response to the water quality concerns, town staff lowered the plant chlorine residual level in increments of 0.05 parts per million over several weeks from a valuation of 1.0 down to 0.8. So it basically over 4 weeks, you dropped the level of the chlorine by 0.05. This was a total of 4 chlorine level adjustments that would affect the water coming out of residents' homes. During this chlorine adjustment period, the town conducted 6 tests with water samples. The results of those 6 tests showed that 4 of the 6, 66%, exceeded the 1.3 part per million action level. Around this time, the staff also decided to begin the test effects of corrosion on copper. This was the plate test that Matt spoke about several months ago. And this note from the timeline indicates that the pH was increased to 7.4. So I note that the timeline doesn't say what the beginning and starting pH level was, and it doesn't say how much the starting pH level was raised over this period of time, but clearly the level was raised as indicated here. So I note that the 2024 Niskayuna water quality report showed that the pH was at 6.9, and I heard a couple of months ago that the measurement prior to these changes being made was around 6.8. I don't see that in writing, but I also note that the city of Schenectady pH level was 7.4, significantly higher. This was the level that you were bringing the Niskayuna water pH level up to. So then we jump ahead to September 25 in the timeline, and the timeline notes that staff began introducing the pH adjusted water at a pH level of 7.4 into the system. So So that's fine. Water was being adjusted, the pH was being changed, and water chemistry was being altered. Then in October, we have the timeline that talks about the water sampling test that begins with rounds 2, 3, and 4. So it was 26 samples in round 2, 22 samples in round 3, and 18 samples in round 4. And that all occurred between October 7th and 23rd. So in total, 66 water samples collected in these 3 rounds. What I want to make note of here is that all these test samples were conducted after at least 4 chlorine adjustments were made at the water plant and several pH level adjustments that were made. And my point with that is the water chemistry consistency that was coming out of the water treatment plant was altered from the time that the copper plate testing began and prior to all these water sampling tests that occurred. So when we're looking at the test plate analysis, which was going to range for 120 days, you lost your reference level in water because you changed the chemistry of it. Therefore, the corrosion effects on that plate are going to be changing over time. And that's an important point to bring up because you can't look at that plate corrosion test results now and correlate it to what the water looked like back in the May, June, July period because it's not the same water chemistry. And I also note that all the resident tests that were collected post-adjustment are necessarily going to show you different results for pH, for chlorine, and for the copper level because of all these tests that happened before, all the changes that happened in the water plant before these tests occurred. And again, this is important for me to point out for the town to acknowledge, because if the test control had been left the same with the water and it had not been adjusted and you did all these tests in October, knowing that there was 4 tests that were flagged out of the 6 that occurred in that May, June time period, you would have been able to do an apples to apples comparison in the different parts of the network with the same water consistency, same chemistry. You can't make that same comparison now because the chemistry has been changed multiple times. So it's good that the results are showing lower copper levels right now, but they're not necessarily what the copper levels would have showed if we didn't alter the water in between. So I bring these things up not to debate. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not saying that these adjustments were the wrong thing to do. They clearly do affect the corrosive action of the water on the copper pipes, you know, as well as anybody, Dan. If you raise the pH, if you drop the chlorine level, you're going to minimize the corrosive action. So I'm not saying that those were bad things to do, but the timing is what's the concern here. So I make note that the timing has really affected what we're seeing as results. I'm happy that we've got great results, but it kind of masks what the problem was that we saw in the 66% of samples that happened in May, and we can't really get a good idea of what was happening out in the field because the water chemistry has changed over time. So those are the concerns that I have. And I also think that I think it's important for us to note that I'll just sum this up. There's a few things I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see the webpage that's called the 2025 Copper Testing and Corrosion Control Study page, and then the timeline of testing PDF. I'd like to see a few different things in there. I'd like to see it updated to indicate right up front that there were multiple adjustments made to the water chemistry between June and September, and those adjustments will necessarily have affected the results to the copper plate testing and also the water tests. I think people need to understand that. I think people should also recognize that any corrosive action that has occurred in their copper pipes, in their water heaters, is not reversible. The adjustments that have been made to the pH and the chlorine level now certainly will decrease the corrosive action of the water, but and for a health perspective, that's better because you'll have lower copper that people are ingesting, but you can't roll back any damage to the copper piping, and I think people should be aware of that, simply so that they don't see, okay, my water tested fine, everything is great, because their water could have been reading much higher copper levels for months and months and months before they had this test done. So I think that's important. And then I'd like to see the map updated because, as I said, those are pretty easy changes for the GIS folks to do to reprioritize the higher level readings so that because some of them are almost completely obscured. All the green dots that are in close periphery to the high level markings basically are painted over the top of them. You can't really see them well. So I'd like to see that changed. And so those are my comments. I think, and I'm not calling these things out to try and hammer the town, not at all. I really just think this is good for disclosure so that people understand the cause and effect of changes that were made and good changes in terms of the water chemistry, but it certainly is going to change what the results are at this point in time and even tests that occur in November, December. If you change the chemistry again, it's going to affect the results one way or the other. And I think that's important for people.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. So you can have this copy. And if you can, add that as like an attachment to the meeting minutes, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll clarify a few items.
Okay.
One is pH. We
Yep.
haven't adjusted pH of the water that's in the system.
Okay, so maybe that's something with the timeline that needs to be corrected? Because the timeline says the pH was raised.
The test sample on the test bench, that pH has been adjusted.
Okay, all right, so,
So that's on the test. That does not go into the water system.
all right, okay,
That's side stream, goes to waste.
okay, all right, so that would be maybe just a great one-liner or something just to clarify. I didn't read it that way.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Just to address a few items, we'll consider your comments regarding the map. I believe the map is current and up to date with all the testing results that we've received. The dots themselves, we can make them smaller so they can all fit on there. However, you won't be able to see them very well.
I
You
don't,
know, as you zoom up, they get bigger and they do overlap, whatever the newest items are. As far as pH, copper corrosion, it's well known, two main things that cause copper corrosion are chlorine and pH. Chlorine is required by law.
sure,
We know that chlorine corrodes copper. It's managed, it's understood that that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's taken us over years to be able to reduce the chlorine level coming out of the plant.
Yeah.
So that we still have safe residuals throughout the entire system.
yeah, and I'm not arguing that point at all with you. I think that a careful study like that is a good move. And clearly those steps were made. I just think that they need to be brought forth in a slightly different way.
That's fine. Our water, we work closely with the state and entities as far as our water. Everything is tested on a daily basis, submitted to the state and county health departments. Our water is safe and within compliance. It has been, and we take that very seriously. We do take seriously any resident concerns regarding copper levels. We will go over and beyond to ensure that our residents are comfortable and feel safe with the water that we're supplying. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars to make sure that these residential concerns are addressed, and that our residents feel comfortable with the water, that everything is with the state. They're well aware of, resident concerns and aware of our testing. Everything is submitted to the state, and we work closely with the state on it.
And Dan, I just to be clear, I'm not questioning the levels, and I wasn't suggesting that the levels coming out of the water plant aren't correct. I know that there's a range, but I think we also know that within that range, you can increase or decrease the corrosive effect. And I know that that's what the goal is here. So I'm not challenging the town on that at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Any others?
Just your agenda items. I was interested in the updates on the rates and I was just gonna follow your agenda.
Okay.
So.
And design. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll proceed with item number 4, water and sewer maintenance, sewer and pump stations. We've been striving to, we've got 2 open positions, maintenance worker positions. We don't have a candidate at this time. Surplus vehicles and equipment, we will recommend a resolution, be able to surplus that equipment that's no longer needed. Correlator equipment from 64 seconds. We'll need resolution for this purchase, essential equipment for our water crew to be able to find leaks.
Dan, can I just ask on the surplus, is there a listing of what's?
Yes,
You have an email list too?
Yes, please, yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So when you surplus it, you get the revenue, it goes back to equipment line item or?
It goes into the revenue line in
Okay.
that fund, so
Okay.
it stays in the
In there.
fund.
Yep. Okay.
But we need to make sure, like for insurance or whatever, that if it's being surplus, we're taking it off. You know, it being insured, so you.
Yeah, yeah.
Make sure we're not
Not
paying for it, exactly. Meetings.
Gotcha. Is there a price on that?
I can move it to.
Correlator equipment?
yes.
Okay, that's fine.
The cost of the correlator equipment. We've got 3 quotes. The cost of the correlator equipment, $11,859.
That's 64 seconds.
And that's in your 25 budget.
Okay. That was 64
Yes.
seconds, that was, we looked at.
It's,
And they're
we're looking, previously, we looked at a larger system, it was
Yes.
about
Yes.
$22,000. It's a little, it's a reduced.
Yep.
just state whether the utility billing and resolutions, if they have already been accounted for in the 2025, or if they're accounted for in 2026. So we know that they are actually accounted for.
Resolutions would, have not been passed yet, so they've been 2025.
25.
Next item, utility billing. Water and sewer rate study update. The had the public meetings, and comments on that. Aaron's been the one that's been mostly involved in that one. I don't have, other than what the latest presentations have been, I don't have additional information on that.
Nothing's come up since.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Haven't gotten anything new from.
okay, yeah, she had mentioned last night when we talked about that, there might have been some updated numbers.
Coming.
Yeah,
Comments.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have.
Because we were
He's been
curious
having
about how the,
Addison, the new intern, I think, work on some.
That's right. Yeah,
Putting together some numbers for.
that based on the water meter size.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, one of the models of.
Yeah. Base rate and
Yeah.
the ready to serve, basically.
Yeah. Because I was curious, like revenue projections, and that was what she was saying, is that.
The residential utility bills are due tomorrow. I believe.
Today,
Today.
today.
The 7th.
It's on the, even though my text message changes, are you? Or is that you? So. You think, but we have several residents that have requested amendments / payment plans to their bills. Usually it comes to me. Usually we have the town supervisor and the board member present. We do have a quorum of the committee members present, but my position is that we should have at least one of either the town supervisor or board member present to approve the issuance of refunds. I don't think that should be an issue for employees to decide if that's more, I want to say it's a legal opinion. I just think that's the right decision. That's I don't want to make things difficult for the employees who are, for the residents who are looking for answers, but at the same token,
Yeah.
the board members and the town supervisor, the one who are elected to make those decisions and determine how what gets spent. So
And that wouldn't normally be something that gets published, right? If you've given out. Or yes,
So it would probably be done through the reconciliation because they'll pay their,
okay.
except for the two that are requesting payment plans. We discussed these yesterday, so we can discuss them out loud, but I mean, the only one that I don't see an issue moving forward with is this 2619 Aqueduct Road because they were put on the sewer and they shouldn't have been. That was a
Yeah.
mistake. So that's like an obvious mistake that was more, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Maybe clerical. The payment plans we typically haven't done except for when the rates were changed, but it's my understanding there were some leaks that caused unusually high bills.
And not that the resident's looking to not pay that bill, it's,
And we've done that for
Right.
them and it's worked out well and people have been very like good
Yeah.
about it and very appreciative, so.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with.
I was gonna say, that's, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
So when you present the bill, is that gonna be something in the bill, when, once you send the bill out, that you have these options? Or-
I don't
No.
think it's gonna go that route,
Okay.
but I know on a case to case basis, when they reached out, you know, we try to do our best to make it.
These are ones that are like at least $1,000 or more over
Right.
their typical due to a leak.
Okay,
So it's not like they could have planned for it. kind of
okay,
thing.
thank you.
And it's those two. Well, what was discussed yesterday, I guess one of the properties has a history of allowing of not paying the bills and allowing them to go to taxes. So if we agree to a payment plan, it wouldn't be for past bills, it would just be for the current bill. Is that,
Okay.
yeah,
is that?
correct.
And then, sorry.
One was a running toilet that they did get
Oh, yeah.
fixed. However, it's a large bill and it's just a little more time to be able, they're willing to pay the complete bill.
Oh, the other part of that would be that the payment plan would be for the period of time between this and the
Like
next
4
bill.
months, right?
Yeah,
I know they talked about some municipalities where people had the fix, they had an expensive fix to a problem, so water is not being wasted. And then pay for it, but they were given some kind of break on I don't know how you would manage that, how, on the bill itself, that it was an expensive fix on their part. And the town municipality gave them a break on the bill. So, that's okay.
None of them are,
Like, those two,
the first three, I mean, the first one, I think we can all agree on.
Yes, yes.
The two, since that does not involve issuing a refund, I think this committee could agree to that. But he's comfortable with it. But the last three actually,
So the
I would
first
request
two of those
something.
last three, the Barclay Place and WR2.
WTRY.
Yeah, that's right. Those two, those are new owners. They took over in a certain place. We had actual readings at the time of closing and the time like that was read before. Then when they went to do the reading for the 6-month period, we didn't get a reading from the meter. So then FlexiBill estimated with the past 2 like seasons, except those two happened to have leaks in the system, so it had a super huge consumption. So when it estimated it, it estimated it high.
So
So,
there's an outlier in the.
so we went back and it was like, they estimated based on the average of what they used when we got actual readings. So it's just a reduction in their bill for what we estimated would have been a normal usage instead of that
the leaks are
outlier.
not ongoing.
And the leaks are not ongoing, those have been fixed.
So basically what's being asked is to take the outlier out.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
We typically take the outlier out. What's this other oversight? or is
I don't
that
know
what we
that
have?
we've dealt with that too much in the past, kind of an odd.
yeah, none of, I think it's-
dealt with this. I think it would make sense to have,
No, it makes sense to take out the outlier. I
Yeah.
just didn't know if this is
I mean,
Just a
it's
glitch in the
because,
system, or how, you know,
Yeah,
how do
and
you
it's-
prevent that from going forward, I guess?
and it's just a odd because, they're new owners. It's not the same owner that's been there the
Yeah.
whole time. It's
Yeah.
new
And in
owners
both
that,
situations, we couldn't get a reading.
yeah. And like, the meter's been changed, so like moving
Mhm.
forward, it was, moving forward, it's all fixed.
And the last one was the-
And the last one, that one, they had a leak on the outside spigot, which caused them to, like, consumption was outrageous. So they're only looking for a reduction on the sewer side because it was known that the water was not going down the sewer. They are paying for all the water that came through the meter. Just a reduction and again, it was estimated on like how much would have gone out if it was just normal
Right.
consumption. So just on the sewer side, a reduction, which would drop their bill down. Instead of being $2,849.73, it would drop it down to $1,447.14. Because it was like over 300,000 gallons of water that,
Leave town.
But
Yeah.
we wanted to take a look at it and are sure that it was a spigot leak.
yeah. And it was definitely fixed. I mean, I can show you this without, like, that's, the red is the usage. And then they fixed it, so it shows, yeah.
Groups.
Mine with those.
And obviously, and like I said, I mean, he's paying for all those gallons of water that came through the meter. It's just a reduction on the
That's
sewer.
fine.
side.
Is this some, a vote on, or is this just discussing maybe?
I mean, no, there has to be an actual vote to approve. If Kara's comfortable with it.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve these.
The last three. Or no, I guess it'd be all of them, right?
All
Yeah.
six of these. All six of these items, their motion. Their second,
I'll second it.
Okay.
all in favor, you say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wastewater treatment plant. Organic waste program update. We continue to bring in trucks from Choctaw with the way. They have indicated that they're changing a process, building a new facility at their place to take on the way, and so that will be reduced significantly, if not eliminated, in February. The way that we're bringing in, so we're bringing in, I think 13 trucks a week, 8,000 gallons each of whey. And they're looking to reduce that in February next year significantly, if not completely. And we have already discussed with them with other dairy waste that they have. Chobani. Carney, yeah. DAF, dissolved air flotation, is a similar material in their yogurt process. We've approved to bring in dairy waste at the plant, and so we've started a few trucks, one truck a week right now of the DAF material to see how that will respond to our digester chemistry. So far, we haven't seen significant changes, which is good. It may have more solids in it, which means we'd have to haul out the solids that don't get. We've got approval, RDDC approval to bring in dairy waste.
How do you spell that, Dad?
DAF,
DAF.
that stands for dissolved air flotation process. It's for separating out solids in their process.
Is there tipping fees?
We do receive entity fees.
Did we see if we're gonna have a reduction? 'Cause I know something I read that we were receiving about 200,000. We had gotten back up to 200,000. Is that gonna be impacted? How severely? And if this has been accounted for in the
If
26
the
budget?
way is reduced completely, that's right now
That'd
our
be gone.
revenues, our revenue stream.
So has that been accounted for in the 26 budget in a reduction in the revenue?
We are looking to see if we,
Because that's
How
pretty
we-
significant.
it is very significant. See if this alternate media will be able to balance that out. Right now, we don't know.
But the sludge, you guys have to pay for it going out. So do we have sort of like a cost benefit analysis? Okay. Thank you.
Appoint plant operator trainee. We have interviewed a person and they have accepted an offer from us for the plant operator trainee position. In addition to the mechanic position from last month. So we will be at full staff at the wastewater treatment plant.
Get a form to. Yeah, there's an appointment form. Are you familiar with that or no?
No.
Okay. To do that, so.
I can show you what it looks like.
I'm still waiting on the background check. That's our last piece that we're waiting on and then.
That's for Adam.
Yeah.
That's for the
Yeah,
other
next
one,
week,
right?
Do we
Is
think?
that for the other
That's
one?
the one that's starting on Monday.
Yeah,
And so we have a new one that will be on resolutions.
okay, gotcha.
I'll do as many of these as I can, or at least get them started.
Control system, sludge dewatering pump controls repair. We needed an emergency repair done on some equipment at the wastewater plant. This is the one we discussed. The price came just over 65.
The one we discussed last night, when
Yeah.
the shipping cost was over.
Yeah, it was under, and then they added shipping and then it went over by 7.
And wastewater treatment plant and water pump stations. We discussed the corrosion control study update. Previously, we have the first set of coupons were removed this week and they're at the laboratory to be tested and weighed. Filter building door replacements, the facilities of the water plant are getting older and we're looking to keep those refreshed and current. And so with doors that needing replacement, that's one of them. But we'll need the item E, the floor epoxy chemical, the filter rooms. That's a similar, just older facilities need to be able to keep maintaining them, to keep them refreshed.
We have quotes for those or?
I have 2 quotes for the floor.
What about the others?
We
The
have
alternatives, like filter, building door, heat control.
the
We got
filter
those on
building door, they're still looking for a second quote because
Okay.
people don't want to give it to us.
Yeah.
I think Josh had told me that they were gonna wait on the gate control at the plant, but the one at the towers is more,
Yes,
and so he's got a quote, he was gonna get a second quote from, somebody else, but they subcontract out to the person we already had a quote from.
There's one
Yeah.
company in the area that would do gate controls.
do I do sole source on those or?
I don't know, but
Sole source letter, and if you have
they're the
another
only
company.
ones
I
that-
mean,
they're just the only ones around. It's a small enough business
Right.
that all of the, fencing contractors that install gates, they all use this one company.
Yeah, so that sounds like an instance.
And so I said, hey, well, Josh, get at least a quote from this fencing company that
Right.
says, hey, here's our markup on the same company that does the gate controls.
Yep.
And that would,
We
we
should
know that
try to
it'll be
get
more,
that.
but
We can
Yeah,
get
try to
that
get
from
some.
we can get that quote and then we'll use the original company. I mean, that would give us a better price.
that's for the one,
That's for the gate control,
At the
the
water
water towers. And I think we're gonna hold off on the one at the plant
Yeah,
until next year, potentially.
Because it was more important for the water towers with all the, like Verizon and everybody else who,
The the security I mean, we don't have staff at the water towers all the time. And so the plant staff, we do have people there all the time. Okay, recycling and landfill, contract, we've already, contracted the award to Pollard for cleaning up the recycling area, there. We don't have a start date yet on when he'll be beginning that work. We'll identify when that happens in the upcoming month.
And what was the price on that? Clean up or?
Yeah, Pollard, $12,000.
I think it was expensive.
Okay.
So,
And that's, so our next meeting, Carrie, did you have any items?
No,
I'm
good, thank you.
Okay. Our next meeting is, scheduled for December 4th, 4:30.
are we gonna change that?
That,
Oh, that's so
we'll look into
the
that.
It'll be the same.
Okay,
yeah.
For now,
Numbers
in the
go to
upcoming year.
30th. Hear that.
yeah.
I can't do 4:30 on Thursdays, so that's.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. Good, is that? Aye. Any opposed?
you.
Thank you.
Live stream.
I didn't know.